Hey everyone, ever get that feeling like you're stuck on a financial treadmill? You work hard, you get a raise, but somehow you're still not getting ahead.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. Why more money doesn't always mean more financial security. We're going to try to help you escape what we call the lifestyle creep trap.
Yeah, that's a good one. Lifestyle creep. It's a sneaky little trap, and it's something I've even struggled with myself.
So it's not just us regular folks.
Not at all. It's surprisingly common, even among people you'd think would have it all figured out. The research we've been looking at actually highlights how even lottery winners and celebrities can fall victim to this.
Wow, really? Even lottery winners. That's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's true.
So, okay, for those who haven't encountered this term before, how would you explain this whole lifestyle creep thing?
So imagine this. You get a raise, which is awesome, right? But then instead of saving or investing that extra money, you kind of unconsciously start upgrading your lifestyle. Like maybe you get a bigger apartment, start eating out at fancier places, splurge on that new gadget you've been wanting, and suddenly you're right back where you started, just with fancier bills this time.
Oh, I've totally been there. It's like the money just disappears before you even have a chance to think about saving it.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, one of the things that really struck me in the research was this example of someone who landed their dream job, something they'd been working towards for years,
Right.
but they actually ended up feeling just as stressed financially because their spending just ballooned right along with their income.
Yes. That's a perfect example of how sneaky lifestyle creep can be. It just kind of creeps up on you. But what's even more interesting to me is why this happens.
Right. Why do we fall into this trap so easily? What's going on there?
Well, I think it's a bunch of things, really. There's a lot of pressure in our society to equate success with material possessions. Like, think about it. Bigger houses, nicer cars, the latest fashion, all of that gets marketed as a sign that you've made it, that you're successful. So when our income goes up, it's almost like we're programmed to think, okay, now I need to upgrade my spending to match.
So it's not just about our own individual desires. It's also about these external pressures that kind of shape our thinking about money and success.
Yeah, exactly. And it often gets worse because people don't plan ahead financially. They tend to reward themselves before they've built a strong foundation. It's like building a house on sand might look impressive for a while, but without a solid base, it's not going to last.
That's a really good analogy. So it's almost like we're focused on the appearance of success, looking successful, but not necessarily on the substance, that real financial security that lets you handle the tough times and build a future that you're excited about.
Exactly. And that's why understanding the difference between looking rich and being rich is so important.
I'd love to hear you talk a bit more about that. Like, in a practical sense, what does being rich really mean?
Well, I don't think it's about flashing designer labels or driving a fancy car. It's more about having that financial freedom, that peace of mind, knowing you have options. Imagine having a solid emergency fund so you're not totally thrown off course if something unexpected happens. Or being able to retire comfortably and actually pursue your passions without stressing about money. To me, that's what true wealth is.
That makes a lot of sense. So how do we actually make that shift, change our thinking and escape this whole lifestyle creep trap? I know this is something so many people struggle with.
Well, the research we've been digging into actually lays out a really cool 5-step plan, and I have to say it's super effective.
Okay, let's hear it. What's step number one?
Step 1 is all about knowing your numbers. You can't make good decisions about your money if you don't have a clear picture of where it's all going, right?
Yeah, that seems pretty straightforward, but I bet a lot of people avoid actually tracking their expenses. What would you say to someone who finds that intimidating or just plain boring?
Yeah, I get it. It can seem like a chore, but trust me, it's so worth it. There are tons of tools out there that make it easy, budgeting apps, simple spreadsheets, whatever works for you. Even if you just start with a pen and paper, the main thing is to be consistent.
So even if you're not a tech person, you can still make this work. It's more about the commitment to tracking, not necessarily the fancy tools.
Absolutely. And once you start tracking, you'll be amazed by what you learn about your own spending habits.
All right, so we've tackled knowing our numbers. What's step two in this escape plan?
Step 2 is all about setting up what they call a wealth building rule. It basically means deciding to put a percentage of every raise or bonus you get towards savings or investments before you even think about spending it.
Oh, that's interesting. The research actually suggests aiming for 50%. 50%.
Yeah, 50%. It might sound like a lot, but remember, we're talking about building long-term wealth here. It's an investment in your future self. And even if 50% feels impossible right now, any amount is a great start.
So it's about progress, not perfection. Like, even if someone can only manage 10% or 20% right now, that's still a huge step in the right direction.
Absolutely. It's about breaking that cycle of lifestyle creep and starting to build that solid financial foundation we talked about. And, over time, as you get more comfortable with saving and investing, you can gradually increase that percentage.
I'm really liking this. It's about making conscious choices to put your long-term well-being first, instead of just giving in to those immediate desires to spend, spend, spend.
Couldn't say it better myself. It's about taking control of your money and your future.
All right, so we've got knowing our numbers, we've got setting that wealth building rule. What's step 3?
Step 3 is where we really tackle those societal pressures we were talking about earlier. It's all about shifting our focus from looking rich to being rich.
Okay, so this is where we challenge those external pressures and really define what success means for us, right?
Yeah.
But how do we actually do that when we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us to buy more stuff to be happy?
It's tough, no doubt, but it's a battle we can win. I think it starts with being more mindful of the messages we're taking in. Maybe take a break from social media or unfollow accounts that make you feel pressured to keep up.
Yeah, create a more positive online space that reflects what you value.
Exactly. But it goes beyond what we see online, right? It's also about how we think about our own spending and what success means to us personally.
Right.
Like, remember those examples of being rich we talked about earlier? Financial security, peace of mind, having choices.
Yeah.
Those are the things that really matter. It's not about impressing other people with stuff you own.
It's easy to get caught in that trap, though, especially when you see others seemingly living these lavish lifestyles. You start comparing yourself and feeling like you're not good enough.
It happens to all of us. It's so important to remember that what we see on social media is often just a carefully constructed version of reality. True happiness comes from inside, from your values and the connections you make, not from the things you buy.
I love that. It's about finding fulfillment outside of spending, which actually is something we're going to explore more in a bit.
Absolutely. But first, let's move on to step 4 in our escape plan.
Okay, you've got me hooked. What's next?
Step 4 is all about making a plan for your money before you even get it. This is where budgeting comes in.
Ooh, the dreaded B word. I think a lot of people try to avoid budgeting because it feels restrictive or just too complicated.
I know, right? But honestly, budgeting doesn't have to be a chore. In fact, it can be really empowering. When you have a clear budget in place, you're not limiting yourself. You're actually just telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it all went.
I love that way of looking at it. It's about making conscious choices and being in control instead of feeling like your money is controlling you.
Exactly. Think of it as a roadmap for your money. You know where you want to go, your financial goals, and you have a plan to get there.
This is all making so much sense.
And the best part is there are so many different budgeting methods out there. You can find one that fits your life and what you like.
So no need to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you and making it a regular part of your life.
Exactly.
All right, on to step 5. This is the final piece of the puzzle, right?
You got it. And it might be the most important one of all. Step 5 is about finding fulfillment outside of spending. This is how we break free from that consumer mindset that just makes you want more and more.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Tell me more about this.
Well, it's about realizing that true happiness doesn't come from stuff. It comes from experiences, from relationships, personal growth, maybe even from helping others.
So shifting our focus away from material things towards things that really feed your soul and bring lasting joy.
Exactly. Think about a time you felt truly happy. Was it because you bought something? Or was it because you were with people you love, doing something you're passionate about, maybe making a difference in the world?
That's a really powerful question. Makes you think about what truly matters.
For sure. When we focus more on experiences and connections, we stop feeling the need to keep up with everyone else and fall into that lifestyle creep trap.
I really appreciate this conversation. We're getting to the core of why just earning more money doesn't automatically equal happiness and financial security. It's about so much more than just your income. It's your mindset, your habits, and your priorities.
I totally agree. And the exciting thing is, the research we're looking at doesn't just stop at these 5 steps. They actually offer a practical challenge that anyone can try right now to put these principles into action.
Oh, cool. Tell me about this challenge. What does it involve?
They call it the 7-Day No Lifestyle Creep Challenge. It's all about helping you become more aware of your spending habits and noticing those times when you might be slipping into the lifestyle creep trap without even realizing it. Are you up for it?
I love a good challenge. Count me in.
Awesome. I'm excited to get into the details of this challenge with you and everyone listening. But first, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll unpack how this 7-day challenge can help us all break free from lifestyle creep and start building a more financially secure and fulfilling future.
Okay, so we're back and ready to tackle this 7-day no lifestyle creep challenge. I'm ready to learn how to escape this trap. You said earlier that it's all about awareness, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like shining a light on those little spending habits that might be causing lifestyle creep without us even noticing.
Interesting. So, like, how does it actually work? What's the first step we should take?
Well, for the next 7 days, try this. Write down absolutely everything you buy. And I mean everything, even the little things.
Okay, that sounds pretty simple. But I have to admit, even thinking about doing that makes me realize how much I probably spend without even thinking about it. It's crazy how a coffee here and a snack there can really add up.
You're so right. And that's exactly why this tracking thing is so important. It brings all those unconscious spending habits to the surface, you know?
So it's like holding up a mirror to our spending, and maybe we won't like what we see.
Pretty much. And once you've tracked your spending for a few days, the next step is to try and find at least one expense that you increased just because you had more money coming in.
So like pinpointing those sneaky little lifestyle creep moments, like maybe you started ordering takeout more often because you felt like you could afford it, or you upgraded your gym membership without really thinking if you needed to.
Exactly. It's about recognizing those spending decisions that were driven by thinking, oh, I can afford this now, rather than a real need or desire.
And then what? What do we do with that awareness once we have it?
Well, the last part of the challenge is to see if you can cut back on that expense or maybe redirect that money towards savings or investments. So, say you realize you've been spending an extra $50 a week on takeout. Maybe you challenge yourself to cook at home more and put that $50 into your savings account, or maybe even invest it.
I see. So it's not about depriving yourself, it's more about making smart choices that help you reach your long-term money goals.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your money and making sure it's working for you, not the other way around.
This challenge is pretty cool. I'm definitely going to try it. And I think it's a great way to put all those 5 steps we talked about into practice.
I agree. It's a great place to start for anyone who wants to escape that lifestyle creep cycle and start building a more secure and fulfilling financial future.
As we're talking about all this, I'm curious. Are there any other tips or tricks you've found helpful in fighting lifestyle creep? Aside from this 7-day challenge, are there any everyday habits that can make a difference?
One thing that's really helped me is delaying gratification.
Oh, delaying gratification. That's a good one. Tell me more about that.
So instead of buying something I want right away, I force myself to wait. Maybe a few days, maybe even a few weeks. And you know what? Often I find that urge to buy just fades away. And I realize I didn't really need it after all.
So it's like you're giving yourself time to step back and really think about if that purchase is something you truly need and if it fits with your values.
Exactly. It helps you avoid those impulse buys that can add up so quickly and fuel lifestyle creep.
I think that's a real struggle for a lot of people, especially these days with everything being so instant. It's so easy to click buy now and have something at your door in like 2 days.
Oh yeah, it definitely takes discipline. But the benefits are worth it. You save money, and you start to appreciate the things you do buy even more.
Makes sense. Any other tips you want to share?
Well, another good strategy is finding ways to lower your fixed expenses.
Oh, lowering fixed expenses. Can you give some examples of fixed expenses that people could potentially reduce?
Sure. It could be things like negotiating a lower rate on your internet or phone bill, maybe finding a more affordable place to live, or even downsizing your car.
Yeah, it's amazing how much even small reductions in those fixed expenses can free up over time.
Absolutely. And then you can use that extra money to work towards your financial goals. Things like growing your savings, investing, or paying down debt faster. It's all about making your money work harder for you, not the other way around.
It all comes back to being in control of your money instead of feeling like it controls you.
Exactly. When you're proactive about managing your expenses and you make conscious choices about your spending and saving, it can really change how you feel about money. It can be very freeing.
This has been so helpful. I'm definitely feeling more motivated to take control of my finances and finally escape that lifestyle creep cycle.
That's great to hear. And remember, it's a process, not something that happens overnight. There'll be times when it's hard, but the important thing is to keep learning, keep trying new things, and keep moving forward.
It's about progress, not perfection, right? It's just taking that first step, no matter how small, can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There's so much information out there to help you. You can read books, listen to podcasts, talk to financial advisors, or even join online communities.
So many great resources available. And of course, people can always come back to the deep dive for more insights and ideas.
We're always here to help you figure out the world of personal finance and give you the tools to create a financially free and fulfilling life.
So to recap, we've talked about those 5 steps to escape the lifestyle creep trap. We've explored the 7-day challenge, and we've even gone over some extra tips and tricks for managing your money effectively.
I think we've covered just about everything there is to say on lifestyle creep. This has been such a fun and interesting deep dive.
Definitely. But we're not quite done yet. When we come back for part 3 of this episode, we'll wrap things up with some final thoughts and a question to help you think about your own financial journey and the choices you're making. Stay tuned.
Check out our Money Mindset Reset ebook, Financial Planner, and the Ultimate Saving Challenges at Stan Store, Millionaire Profits HQ.
All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the lifestyle creep trap. And wow, this conversation has really been eye-opening. You know, it's amazing how much our spending is influenced by things we might not even realize, like those societal pressures, wanting instant gratification, and even just not having a plan.
It's so true. We often just go on autopilot with our money, especially when we get a raise or a bonus. Like, instead of stopping and thinking about how to use that money to build a more secure future, we immediately jump to treat yourself.
Right. It's like this voice pops up and says, you deserve this, and suddenly we're justifying buying that new gadget or that fancy vacation because we feel like we've earned it.
Exactly. That's why all these strategies we've been talking about are so important. Tracking your spending, setting a wealth building rule, finding fulfillment in things other than buying stuff. All of that helps you become more intentional and break free from those automatic spending patterns.
It's about changing that script in your head, right?
Yeah.
Instead of I deserve to treat myself, it becomes more like I deserve to build a secure and fulfilling future.
Love that. It's about realizing that real wealth isn't about those temporary moments of gratification. It's about having options, feeling secure, and living a life that aligns with your values.
Which brings us to the core of what we've been exploring today. That financial freedom isn't just about the size of your paycheck. It's about your mindset and your habits.
Absolutely. It's about taking charge of your finances instead of letting them control you.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with a question to think about, something to really take away from all of this.
Okay, I'm listening.
I want you to think back to the last time you got a raise or a bonus. What was your first reaction? Did you immediately start thinking about ways to spend that extra money? Or did you take a moment to consider how you could use it to create a more financially sound future?
Wow, that's a great question. It really gets to the heart of those ingrained spending habits and the mindset shifts we need to make to escape lifestyle creep.
It reminds us that we have a choice in how we respond to having more money. We can either let it fuel those automatic spending patterns that keep us stuck, or we can use it as an opportunity to build a better future.
So much of financial well-being boils down to awareness and making choices that support your values and your long-term goals.
It's about building a life you love, both now and in the years to come.
And remember, building wealth doesn't have to mean depriving yourself. It's about finding joy in experiences, in your relationships, in personal growth.
It's about breaking free from that consumerist mindset and creating a life of abundance, not just financially, but in all areas of your life.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the lifestyle creep trap. We hope you've gained some valuable knowledge and are feeling inspired to take control of your finances and build that brighter future you deserve. Until next time.